What is going on in Venezuela? Here I will talk about what you need to know about Venezuela. There was an election Sunday, July 28, 2024. Before the election there was a tremendous enthusiasm in the country, and after there have been allegations of voter fraud, and the regime has cracked down violently against people who have claimed victory. On the other hand, you hear the discourse from the left that the opposition is undemocratic, that the violence comes from the opposition, etc. So what is the truth? Follow this video and I will give you a background. I'm Ulf Erlingsson, I'm a doctor in geography, and I've followed the situation in Venezuela for many years, including I have been there last year involuntarily as a hostage of the Maduro regime. So let's get on to it. Venezuela is located in northern South America. You see here the map of the area that is recognized internationally. They also have a territorial claim on Guayana Esequibo, a large part of Guyana, the neighboring country to the east. If we look at the world here, you can see Venezuela located there in northern South America. It's north of the equator, just north. And who are the allies of this country? Because a lot of people have been saying that we can do sanctions, we can isolate Venezuela internationally. But will that work? Let's look at who their allies are. The biggest and first and foremost is Russia. Venezuela has a close relationship to Russia, and actually Maduro was invited after this election by Vladimir Putin to the BRICS summit in October. Second on the list is China. Here we see Maduro visiting Xi, and to our left of Maduro, his right, is his wife Celia Flores, who happens to be a drug kingpin. More about that later. And here we have Maduro visiting Iran, another key ally. Iran also is supplying, like Russia and China, and here North Korea. All of these are supplying weapons to Venezuela. And what do all these have in common? They are all nuclear powered. As I said, Celia Flores is a drug kingpin. Maduro is considered by the US Department of Justice to be the leader of the Cartel de los Soles. That is a cocaine cartel that manufactures and transports approximately 1,000 tons of cocaine per year. It's the global leader in the cocaine smuggling business. And assistants or allies in this are these countries I marked here, Russian puppet regimes, you could say. Belarus is not so important because it's in the middle of Europe there. But Syria is very important, and Venezuela has very close links to Syria and also to the terror groups supported by Iran, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine, and Houthis in Yemen. Also, you see Cuba. Cuba is key for Venezuela. It is Cuban security police that controls the intelligence in Venezuela, in the White Palace, right in front of the presidential palace in Caracas, Venezuela. And another nation you see here is Nicaragua, led by Daniel Ortega, who has been a cocaine dealer since the days of Pablo Escobar. I think everybody who has seen the movie of Pablo Escobar have seen the photos and videos with Pablo Escobar and Daniel Ortega offloading cocaine together. So what other allies do we have? Well, we have some who help in this criminal enterprise. Honduras, where the president is now Xiomara Castro de Zelaya, the wife of Manuel Zelaya, who was thrown out when he tried to do a coup d'etat in 2009. And we see Bolivia, Luis Arce, who is the president now, and he is a lieutenant of Evo Morales, who for decades has been a leader of both Bolivia and the cocaine business of Bolivia. Bolivia is one of those countries, together with Peru, that has permission to grow coca because it's an old cultural plant. But the permission is only for producing sweet coca, for chewing the leaves, not for making cocaine. But the group led by Evo Morales has changed from sweet coca to bitter coca, which contains a lot more cocaine in the leaves. If my memory doesn't fail me, it contains something like 2-3% cocaine instead of 1%. So Bolivia is a big producer of cocaine, and they are in this cartel also. Now, there is one country that may surprise you, and that's Turkey. Because Erdogan in Turkey, together with Assad in Syria, they are now becoming best friends, and they are involved in this cocaine business. There are planes going between Venezuela and Istanbul, so they have close connections there. So these are the main allies of this narco regime. If we look at international conflicts now, the zones marked here with yellow and red stripes are zones with opposing claims. And as you see, you have the Guayana Esequibo next to Venezuela. We have the Crimea and the Donbass area in Ukraine where there is a war going on. We have Palestine marked. Yemen isn't marked, but there is a war going on. And we have the border areas between Pakistan, India, China, and between India and China near Bhutan. And we have Taiwan. We have the islands between Carillion Islands, I think they're called Russian-occupied Japanese islands. So there are lots of conflict zones around the world, and Venezuela is involved in one of them. Now let's look at the West. Green here marks countries that are on the West, on the good side, so to say, from our point of view, the democratic freedom side. And beside Venezuela, we see Guyana. Guyana has to take that position due to the threat from Venezuela. It was for a long time a puppet state of Cuba. But when Venezuela became the new puppet state of Cuba, Guyana sought a new ally. And then we have 2 steps to the right, French Guyana, which obviously is a part of France, and therefore obviously on our side. And we have north of Venezuela, Puerto Rico, part of the United States, and the Dutch islands, the ABC Islands. So that's the geopolitical situation. Now, if you look at Turkey, you'll see I marked it with red stripes. And that's because although Turkey is a member of NATO, and although they're supplying drones to Ukraine, they play both sides of this because Erdogan is also involved in the criminal enterprise. This is a global enterprise of organized crime, and Erdogan is involved in it. That makes Turkey dangerous. And remember, when Sweden and Finland were seeking NATO membership, Turkey put up a resistance against that. So Turkey is a danger spot. So that's how the situation is now. And, I should mention the BRICS countries also. BRICS obviously is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Russia and China we already have in red here. But Brazil, South Africa, and India, I marked in red with thin green stripes because they are supposedly neutral, but they are too much on the side of Russia and China. These are also danger countries. And Lula da Silva is the president of Brazil now. He was an old ally of Hugo Chavez. And I'm not convinced. He has to convince us that he is on our side before I will believe it. So that's how the situation is now, and that's why Venezuela, with its location, is a key place for the conflict that is being developed in the world now, unfortunately. So that is the situation. And oh, I should also mention that the leader, Nicolas Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, is wanted for drug crimes in the United States. He has a reward of $15 million for information that leads to his arrest or conviction. And he is under investigation by the International Criminal Court in the Netherlands for crimes against humanity. And the prosecutor has said that there are overwhelming evidence that he has committed crimes against humanity at least since 2017, possibly since 2014, when the protests started, because it was in 2013 that Nicolas Maduro committed election fraud to install himself as president. But even before that, the coup was that he pretended that Hugo Chavez was alive when he was actually dead for 3 months. So he usurped the powers of the presidency. Hugo Chavez died on December 30th, 2012. But until the beginning of March, Maduro and Diosdado Cabello, the number 2, they acted as though he was alive, signing Chavez's signature electronically on laws. So those two are in it together. And when it comes to violence and the use of force, Diosdado is more extreme than Maduro. Maduro didn't go to North Korea. He sent Diosdado to North Korea. And Diosdado said that North Korea is a marvelous country. So there you have the situation of Venezuela. And thank you for your attention. And please subscribe to my channel. I will be uploading more information.